Hello and welcome back to From the Workshop. I'm your host, Brandon Hart, and with me we have a special guest, our friend, compadre, and CTO of NimbeLink, Mr. Kurt Larson. Hello, Kurt.
Hello.
Excellent. Kurt is actually here today to give us an overview of the M1DK, or the M1 Development Kit. So without further ado, I'm just going to turn it right over to you, Kurt, and have you tell us exactly what we've got here on the table.
Great. Thanks, Brandon. The M1DK kit you see here is already assembled after you take it out of the box, attach the antenna, attach the modem. The other thing you see on the table, which is pretty important, is the category M1 SIM card that comes with the development kit.
Comes in the box.
Comes in the box with the development kit.
Okay.
This particular SIM card is important because the M1 network requires a unique SIM card to work on the network. You can't use a generic off-the-shelf LTE SIM card with the M1 products. So please make sure you either get one from the development kit or another path if you're using M1 products on Verizon's network.
It's kind of a big SIM card, isn't it?
Good question. The SIM card that we ship is actually a tri-cut. So it is a 2FF, a 3FF, and a 4FF. And when you use it, you would use your thumb to punch out the 3FF size for our product specifically.
So we'll give an up-close shot here on the screen, but essentially that's this middle section right there. So not the absolute smallest one, but sort of the middle section. So you'll see that on the screen. Thank you.
And for the product you see in front of you, this is the M1DK development board at the bottom. The SkyWire modem is placed into its socket on top. And then we have two different ports for the antennas. So connected to the bottom side is the primary antenna port X1 with the LTE antenna attached. And then connected to X3 is the GPS antenna, and we do not have a GPS antenna in the kit. Customers will have to get that in at a future date through a different means other than the kit.
And there are different types of GPS antennas, right?
You are correct.
So they should look where?
DigiKey is a great place to shop for antennas.
For the information on what type of GPS antennas, though.
Oh, use the data sheet from
There we
the
go.
Cat M1 product. Okay, so back to the interfaces on the board. There is a USB connector here, and this USB connector interfaces with a USB to serial converter to communicate with the modem. So through this USB port, if you plug this into your computer, it's going to instantiate as two UARTs, or two COM ports on your computer. One of those UARTs, the first one that shows up, is the primary UART for the modem, which is used for sending AT commands and is the primary both command and data port for communicating with the modem. The second UART that instantiates is actually the UART that communicates with the GPS chip that is on the modem. So when there's firmware available that supports the GPS chip, the second COM port that shows up on your computer is the one that would be able to control the GPS chip on the SkyWire modem.
So you would switch between them in order to communicate with the GPS versus the LTE radio.
That's correct.
Okay.
So you have a dedicated path for GPS, you have a dedicated path for the LTE cellular connection.
Cool.
Also on this end of the board, there is a 2-pin connector for lithium-ion battery connection. So if we have some examples where if you take this M1DK and you plug it into some different types of development kits, you can actually power the development kit off a battery, and this can the full system can function as a off-the-shelf prototype for different sensing applications. We also have enclosures that you can 3D print to put around those development kits and this board.
Very nice.
So this is the battery connector. It's a 2-pin specifically for a single cell lithium-ion connection. You can charge the battery through this connection as well as power the board through this connection. Through this connector, this is your power supply that comes with the development kit. It's a standard barrel jack where the center pin is positive and the shell is ground. On the other end of the board, I talked about the GPS connector at this location and the cellular connector at this location for your antenna connections, but there's also some additional connections through this end. One is another USB port. This USB port connects to the USB port on the SkyWire modem and is the path for firmware updates on this product. So if you're going to change the firmware on the modem itself, this USB port connects to the modem to be able to do that firmware update. And then there's also on this end, it's probably difficult to see in the video, but there's two buttons, two different user buttons on the modem. On the development kit.
What are those used for?
One is a reset line that goes into the modem, and the other one I don't know.
Okay.
Check the user manual for the product to find out what they actually do. On the bottom side of the board, there is some pin interfaces which can be used to plug into some off-the-shelf development kits. So I mentioned one earlier, the ST Micro Nucleo family of development kits, which support the Arduino standard interface. That is a kit that we recommend and have some application notes around. But technically, this Arduino interface is used across many different development kits, not specifically Arduino. It's used on the Intel platforms, it's used with Raspberry Pi, it's used with a lot of different companies' products. So this provides you hopefully a somewhat generic interface that you can use to interface with a lot of different microcontrollers. What's important to point out is on the top side of the product there are jumpers, and these jumpers are preset from the factory. So when you receive your development kit, it will allow you to use the USB connection to connect to a computer. You check the user manual to make sure that none have fallen off during shipping. And second, if you're going to use the interface on the bottom to connect to another product, you will need to change the jumper settings to allow for that communication. So those are also something you should check into.
That's in the documentation?
Yes.
Okay, great. Well, it seems like a very capable little board right there. So main things you would need to connect in order to just get started sending AT commands into the SkyWire modem would be the USB port.
Correct.
Choosing the correct COM port that populates, right?
The first one.
You're the first one, so you're talking to the modem rather than to the GPS radio. Some power source. Could be either a battery or the AC power plug that comes with it.
Correct.
And then put the modem in, connect specifically this first antenna port to X1 on the SkyWire modem, and a SIM card. Did I miss anything?
Not that I know of.
That's pretty much it. Yeah. So a good tip is one of the first things to do when you get your M1DK or your SkyWire modem is to check and see if there are firmware updates available for that modem, right? And then that's the point at which you use that specific dedicated USB port there for the firmware updates to apply that firmware update to the modem itself.
Yep. The last thing I'll throw out there is the quick start guide that comes in the box with the M1DK has a link to the entry point to the documentation. So if you go to that link, it is the user manual for the kit, and the user manual will provide up-to-date information on the M1 network from Verizon, as well as features and enhancements to the Cat M1 hardware and software running on that hardware. So as Brandon said, if there is a firmware update available, we'll provide links to the application notes that show you how to actually perform that firmware update.
Cool. And if you want to see where that quick start guide is and how this stuff is in the box, we did do an unboxing, so we'll go ahead and link to that as well. Probably, I don't know, here-ish. And so you can check that out if you want to kind of see what to expect when you get your M1DK. All right. Well, with that, thank you very much, Kurt. I appreciate that. That was a great overview of the M1DK. Any questions, comments, concerns, whatever you may have, please do send them into workshop@NimbeLink.com. And feel free to like, subscribe, and comment below on the videos as well. Otherwise, we'll see you next time on From the Workshop. Have fun building.